Joining us on the news to discuss the election are our political analyst, Jake Epelle, and South Zonal Secretary of the PDP, Judge Turnah. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. I'll start with you, Jake. How would you assess the conduct of the election?
I think today democracy spoke and spoke loudly. But kangaroo election would want to hear the voice of democracy. The voice of democracy spoke in the voter apathy that we saw in this poorly organized election that came with all sorts of illegality. Today, we see democracy not in the way that it should be seen, but in the way of show of shame. I am very, very, very particular about the turnout of events. This is not the way average Rivers people conduct their affairs. This is below standard. And that's because of the several issues surrounding this election. The people have spoken that they are not happy with the so-called election. The people have spoken that they want their democratically elected governor back. And I was amazed that the FCT minister took the place of the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria by going ahead to announce that the suspension of the emergency rule and the reinstatement of the governor. That's not his job. That's not his job. And I think the presidency should question him for mouthing off, because that's exactly what he did. He has no business telling us that. That's the job of the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You know, so it shows you how these whole things are playing out. He's speaking and playing out the script of Aso Rock, and that's not too good for the healthiness of our democracy.
Thanks so much, Mr. Jacob. I'm going to come back to you, but now let me ask Mr. Turnah now. Given Rivers State's historical role as, political bellwether in the South, how do you see this local elections influencing gubernatorial or even senatorial races in the 2027 general elections?
Okay, thank you very much for having me to share a few thoughts, and good evening, Nigerians. Before I go specifically to your question, let me just make a few clarifications in response to what my big brother, said. By Section 305 of our Constitution, a state of emergency proclaimed cannot go beyond 6 months. Now, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, by that section of our Constitution, has no powers to extend emergency rule beyond 6 months. It expires by inflation of time. Now, the only arm of government that has the constitutional powers to extend emergency rule beyond 6 months is the National Assembly. Once the president makes the proclamation and it goes through the procedures and endorsement by the National Assembly, the president's job is done. By 6 months, the emergency rule expires by inflation of time. And if it is to be extended, it is a condition and it's very clear. So a statement made by the FCT minister to suggest that the minister was usurping or taking the place of the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is not in tandem with the law. The president made a declaration of state of emergency, and Nigerians know the date that the declaration was made, and it is for 6 months. The president was very clear. And even, I know that it will expire on a certain date, and that is what the minister, like every other Nigerian, just said. So there's nothing to, make a mountain out of a mole on what the statement by the minister. But in any case, it is also not true that the voter party, we saw the build-up to the elections, political parties mobilizing supporters and the electorates and all the fanfare and the campaigns we saw. It didn't suggest like an election process that people were objecting to. And a result that have just been turned in, the election in Thai, over 70,000 votes returning the chairman. That does not suggest an election that is marked by voter party. Let us commend the process that has gone well. This election have gone well from planning stage up to the execution. I think the RISEC deserve some kudos, and the leaders of River State deserve some kudos. Democracy has spoken in positive light, and we have made progress. Today, elections have been conducted in River State in a very peaceful atmosphere, and we didn't hear of any violence, we didn't hear of thuggery, and you saw the old man who was speaking even to your reporter. You saw the enthusiasm that he has to, discharge his civic responsibility as a Nigerian by voting. That is the way to go, and I think we should commend all of those who have made this happen. Now,
thank you so much, Mr. Turnah, on that one. Let me come back to you now, Mr. Epelle. Tell us, what is the role, or what role did the legislature, now when I'm saying legislature, I'm referring to the National Assembly now, and the judiciary, what role did they play in everything that has happened in Rivers State?
Their role is the role of an illegal sort of like cementing or endorsing illegality. That's actually the role they played, because they know if you check the timeline, was the 90 days followed? No. Instead, we had 21 days. There were a number of court cases that has stopped this election. There's no doubt that the other camp had gone to court and got Port Harcourt judgment that cleared them. But there were also other pending cases that one of them will come up on September the 10th. But let me just zero in, and my brother, I commend you, and we are not here, we are Rivers people, we are not here fighting on the national television, but let's state the truth. Now, going by INEC voter register, there's well over 2 million eligible voters in Rivers State, well over 2 million. Are you telling me that there is no voter apathy when, by your record, 70,000 only elected people or selected people that 2 million people should have elected? And you say that that is not voter apathy? Minus 2 million from 70,000 and see the number you will get, and tell me if that shows any level of confidence or trust in the process. There was no such thing. Rivers people, we are too smart, including you, my brother. We are too smart. You can't outsmart us. They just stayed home to speak loud and clear that they did not endorse the process. Compare this election with all the security apparatus that were at your disposal. I mean, your people. The kind of money they had and all that, compare it to what Siminalayi did without security operative. The process then dwarfed the process now. That's the truth. So it's not a question of trying to argue, going back and forth. No, we're not joining issues. The point is, the people did not come out to participate in this election. The idea was to select the people that the powers that be wants to put in the local government, and they have succeeded. Let them go and rule. History will write in clear terms whether we did well or not. You are remembered by two things: either the problem you created or the problem you solved.
All right, Mr. Turner, let me come to you now based off of what Mr. Epelle has said. Are you bothered about the low turnout of voters? Because people, the reports coming to us, of course, from our correspondent on ground said that they observed quite a low turnout of voters. So the question now is, based off of this, do you really think these are, when the results come out, would you say this is actually what the people of Rivers State want?
Yeah, let me quickly, I think my elder brother is a bit missing the point. I mean, with all due respect, Rivers State has well over 2 million registered voters by INEC statistics, but that is across the state holistically. We are talking about 70,000 electing a local government chairman in just one local government out of the 23 in Thai. So if you have 70,000 electing the chairman in Thai, and then if you are assuming that 70,000 elects all the other chairmen in all the 23 local governments, you put that number together, you can justify voter apathy. In any case, one thing that happened in this election, you must understand that the Rivers State is currently under military rule. Now, please, not military rule, under emergency rule, because it is not military, it's actually democratic rule, but under emergency. Now, when you have a state under emergency, there are certain privileges that you don't take for granted. For instance, an election conducted under an emergency rule must have stricter security measures. Now, people may not know how to deal with some of these security situations. So sometimes you advise yourself, okay, let me go cast my vote and go back to the house, right? So the fact that you don't see people cluster all at a time in a polling unit does not suggest that people have not gone out to get accredited and to cast their votes. You must understand, for instance, there are military men everywhere to provide security. So you don't take all of that for granted. But I can tell you that Rivers people indeed, turn out in their numbers, and the election is concluded in a very peaceful and well-organized, atmosphere, and results have been expected. One thing I can say is that development is development. Progress is progress. Politics is politics, but we cannot play politics with everything. Having a local government election is a step forward in the pursuit of peace. Where there is no peace, there can be no development. And look, we had a situation in Rivers State. The Supreme Court came out to say that there was a complete absence of governance. Maybe we don't really understand the gravity of some of the pronouncements made by the Supreme Court, the findings of fact, about Rivers State. There was no governance. Even the governor, similar have come out to acknowledge that the emergency declaration actually saved the day. Now we have peace, right? And democratic institutions are now gradually coming on board, beginning with the local government. I think that is anybody who thinks right for Rivers State, anybody who loves Rivers State genuinely, anybody who is concerned with peace and progress in Rivers State should appreciate what is going on, should appreciate this process, and should be happy that we, as of today, we even have an environment that is conducive enough to conduct local government elections.
All right, Mr. Turnah, let me beg you to pause right there as I ask Mr. Jake this question now. Mr. Epelle, how has the dominance of a single political party affected the competitiveness and fairness of this election?
Well, that was orchestrated. That was intentional. It was going to be, they wanted it to be APC, all comers LPC. It was an election that is designed to pay back those who stood by the FCT minister. That's period. That's what it is. Let me weigh in on something that my brother, and I respect you, sir, and I applaud you for recognizing the fact that I am your elder, and I am, and I'm not going to take that back. I'm not going to take that back. Now, let me talk about, you just pointed out a very important point, and that's the fact that this election is conducted under emergency rule. Now, is it not a contradiction to what the president said when in his broadcast when he called for this emergency rule, that there is suspension of all political activities? Underline, suspension of all political activities. And now, just because it will favor his ordained son, there is political activity under emergency rule. Nobody, my brother, I have worked hard in this country to push for grassroots democracy. I've worked hard in this country to push for grassroots democracy, and I believe in it. I believe that that is the beginning of democracy, and it will. So I'm not against the democratic grassroots value or institution. No, I'm not against it, but I'm against using illegality to bring it to the front burner. That's what I'm against. And are you telling me that if, going by the pronouncement of the FCT minister, if the governor is reinstated on the 18th of September, that's a few weeks, couldn't he have organized and this election? Couldn't he have been allowed? That would be a democratically elected person that the whole Rivers people elected. He would have been the right person to organize this election. You know, that's the point we're making. We're not saying the local government election shouldn't hold. No. And to hold and guarantee you, in anybody with their right senses, after you have finished this election, you will see the many court cases that will follow it. Because any smart judge who wants to be honest will throw this election out, because it was not organized under the atmosphere of a democratically elected officers. The State Assembly was not there. The governor was not there, and all he did was to use an imported administrator with somebody who is completely alien and foreign to River State to organize. How much can you allow people to slap us? Are we not educated enough, civilized enough, exposed enough to organize election by ourselves, for ourselves?
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Epelle, on that one. But before I let both of you go, I'm just going to ask you, Mr. Judge, Mr. Turnah, please, and I'd like your answers to be as brief as it can be. With the APC making inroads now into some South states, how can the PDP use Rivers State as a model to rebuild, or should I say fortify, its regional dominance? In 60 seconds, please.
Thank you very much, but it's important I just make a few clarifications with some of the points made by my brother. You see, the import of emergency rule as contemplated by our constitution is that the president immediately becomes the governor of the state. And then the powers and functions and duties of the state legislature moves over to the National Assembly. So it is democracy and it is civil rule. It is just that the president cannot be physical in the state, and so he needs to administer the state through a proxy, and that proxy is the administrator, right? So everything is still civil and it is still democratic. If you recall, the National Assembly even had to screen and confirm the members of the River State Independent Electoral Commission. So there is nothing wrong. And if you want to wait to have local government elections when the governor is back on seat and the state assembly, then there will be crisis. We will have a situation where there will be anarchy because there cannot be vacuum in leadership at that level, that tier of government. Recall that the Supreme Court have said that you cannot have caretaker committees at the local government levels. Now
all right,
we are
thank you, Mr. Judge Turnah. Thank you, Mr. Judge Turnah. Thank you, Mr. Jake Epelle. Thank you so much for having this conversation with us. But we need to wrap things up right now.
Then you cannot have the administrators at the local government level.
All right, thank you so much, gentlemen, for having this conversation with me. We're moving on now to other stories.
Thank you for having us.